Hi and welcome to the Communications Department here at the head office of the Fire Brigade Union. We're joined by Union's General Secretary Matt Rack for a key update on the ongoing pensions dispute. Matt, we've previously discussed the pensions debate that took place in Parliament on the 15th of December. Can you just refresh us on the issues that came out of that debate?
Yes, Tam, I think that the first thing to say is that we need to be clear that firefighters forced that debate. The government didn't want it. They wanted to brush the whole thing under the carpet, force through their imposed scheme without any debate, discussion or opposition. So firefighters, through their campaigning and lobbying, forced that debate. We clearly won that debate as well, I think, as anyone who watched it will know. But there was some important things said that people need to remind ourselves of. For example, in response to Richard Fuller, who's a Conservative MP from Bedford, he asked, we have a special responsibility today to get these regulations right. So how are we doing? The answer must be not very well. I say to my honourable friend the Minister that she must make this guarantee a must, not a maybe or a trust me, but a must. We must ensure that we give a guarantee to our firefighters to do them justice for their heroism on our behalf. And Penny Mordaunt replied, we are introducing a measure that will improve the current situation and ensure that if there is no operational role for someone to go into, they will get not just a pension but an unreduced pension. So they will get an unreduced pension. And interestingly, the next day in front of the DCLG Select Committee, that Secretary of State, so Penny Mordaunt's boss, addressed the same thing. He was asked a question from Simon Danjuk MP about if firefighters failing a fitness test, they losing their job and or pension. And Mr Pickles says in response, it is now very clear if firefighters fail the test on the grounds that they are unwell, they will of course receive a full pension. The changes that took place yesterday mean that if a firefighter is unfit, they have to go through a process of trying to get back into a fit condition to be able to fulfil their jobs. If they cannot, and they cannot be redeployed, the effect of yesterday's decision is that they will get a full pension. So yet again, they will get a full pension as a result of the decision that they say was made in Parliament. These are absolutely essential things, obviously, for our members and their future and their decision making about their pension.
And Matt, the government also continually says that nobody's affected till 2022. There's no rush. How would you respond to that?
I think firstly it's completely irresponsible, isn't it, for a government to say, well, you've identified a problem, we're going to kick that problem into the long grass and someone else can solve it in a few years' time. It's just silly, to be honest. It's not acceptable to firefighters. And the point from the firefighters' point of view is this: they're being asked to sign up to a scheme now, coming in April. They're going to be asked over time. The contributions are changing, but generally it will eventually be 13.2%, a huge chunk of their salary. And I think they're entitled to know now what that pension's going to mean in a few years' time. Not wait until 2022 until someone sorts that mess out. They're entitled to know now what happens if their fitness declines. Will they get a pension? Will they get the unreduced pension that Penny Mordaunt and Eric Pickles have guaranteed them in Parliament they will get?
OK, Matt, a parliamentary guarantee, but what work has been done since to actually turn that into a reality on the ground?
Well, we've been putting a great deal of work into that. We have written to every single fire and rescue authority in the country, both from head office here, but also all our brigade secretaries have done so also. The individual members have been provided with wording that they can send to the fire authority chair. And we've also raised the issue and written to the fire service employers nationally. We've continued to discuss it with MPs, including with the opposition who initiated that debate in Parliament. And interestingly, we know that the employers have sought legal advice. That advice has been received, and I think that's assisted in a whole number of responses from employers coming through. And it's interesting to read what those responses are actually saying. Here's a response, and I'll just read quotes from them. From Buckinghamshire, I am unable to provide you with the guarantee that you seek. So the guarantee that was given in Parliament, we've asked for it to be delivered locally. Buckinghamshire say, I'm unable to provide you with the guarantee that you seek. South Yorkshire, we are further advised that such discretion cannot be fettered and that to provide the guarantee you are seeking would be unlawful. In Avon, we are further advised that such discretion cannot be fettered and to provide the guarantee you are seeking would be unlawful. A very interesting one from the London Fire Brigade, the biggest fire service employer in England. The advice from for the employers has now been received, and I would advise that it confirms the position previously notified to DCLG by this authority. So they'd already told DCLG on the 9th of December 2014 that if DCLG wished to offer such a guarantee, then it would need to change the regulations to enable that to happen. It goes on to say, I believe it is clear that as the regulations currently stand, the authority is unable to give any guarantee except that it will commence consideration of an employer-initiated retirement. So again, authority after authority coming back to us and saying very, very clearly they cannot give a guarantee that in the circumstances set out in Parliament they would give an unreduced pension to firefighters.
So Mike, we've got this apparent parliamentary guarantee that seems to be almost worthless when you ask the employers. What on earth is the Fire Minister up to? And what's the next steps for the union going forward?
Well, it's two things, isn't it? It's either the Fire Minister is completely misadvised and doesn't understand the situation herself, or the Fire Minister has misled Parliament. Those are the only two alternatives that I can see arising out of those answers that have been given to us by local employers. Either way, it's got to be addressed. And she needs, Eric Pickles needs, the government need to put that right and to address it. They've given a guarantee in Parliament. They now have to deliver that guarantee. If that means changing the regulations, as we've always said it means, that's what they need to do. So it's a very serious step. As I say, they've either got it completely wrong or they've misled Parliament. How they answer that is a matter for them to decide. We are taking this extremely seriously. We're raising it in Parliament, or we're having it raised by MPs in Parliament very shortly over the coming days. The Executive Council is due to meet, and we've got a recall conference coming up very shortly. This clearly alters the whole position of what people will be discussing going into that recall conference.
Mark, clearly there's going to be a great deal of concern and even anger from FPU members. What would you advise them to do in this current situation?
Well, I think members are fully entitled to be angry about this situation, having done all that work, having received that guarantee, and then hearing the responses from their own employers who actually have to deliver the pension at local level. So people are right to be angry. We are raising this in Parliament. I'd urge people to follow very closely the website, the circulars that we'll be issuing. But most importantly, we've got a recall conference coming up, and it's important that that's a democratic forum. Ensure that the views of local members are represented by your delegation attending that recall conference. That's the key thing that I think people can do over the next few days.
Matt, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Clearly a very serious update. Please stay informed. You can get all the information on our website, which is www.fbu.org.uk. But once again, thanks very much to Matt.
Thanks, Tom.